So I'm going to ask you maybe some triggering questions now.
Okay.
Because we want to talk triggering questions because we want to talk about some of the trends and, red light therapy is, I think, very misused in the wellness industry these days. So let's talk about masks. We see them all over social media.
Yep.
Are red light masks hype, or is there any kind of good versions of red light masks? Can they benefit in any way?
I haven't tested any. I imagine we will. So all my insights I've gained over the years, I've decided I'm going to do a PhD in this subject, and in part of that, I will take. Get hold of as many consumer products as I can. I know there's a lot, but whatever I can pick up without spending too much money. We'll check them out. We've got some very clever instruments here for measuring things. We have a sphere that you can put a device in, and it will measure every wavelength coming out of it, and it'll tell you the total amount of light coming out of it. And I'll be able to use that to evaluate these. So it's called an integrating sphere. So we'll be using that amongst many other things I intend to do the PhD. At a glance, when I look at them, I see the LEDs are too far apart. And I thought, well, you've got an LED here, and you've got another one there, and another one there, and another one there, and there. What about all the cells in between? Yes, the light scatters, but guess what? It's much brighter in the middle, and the bit you get there is, so not your whole face isn't getting an even treatment. So the further the space they are, the less uniform the benefit's going to be. And it might be that it's too bright there and compared with somewhere else, that's a potential risk with those things. I've seen one where and I can't remember, it had 3 colors on it. It was like, they had yellow ones here, and they had green ones here, and they had red ones there. And I'm thinking, that looks beautiful, like a Christmas tree, but you don't know what you're doing. I mean, why would these cells want a different color light to those ones, to this one or that one? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't. It's nonsense. What they're selling is something, and it does. It looks great. Looks like a packet of fruit pastels. But it's not. It's like, find out what works best and use that everywhere. That's my criticism of what I've seen. And it's some people think you just need a bit of red light. Well, I can show you the research that shows how a little bit of light doesn't do anything. A bit more light has some great effects. Too much light, the benefits all disappear. And way too much light, you can actually slow things down. So it's it's a bandwagon that a lot of people are on. I'm sure some of them are going to be better than others. I'm sure they will do something. But I think the harder thing is for consumers is measuring light is a specialist job. If you're not an optical engineer or a physicist, then you're probably not going to figure out. There is no real way for people to know what's working. So it's difficult. You've got to spend some money on some fancy instruments to really know, and then you've got to be able to understand what you're looking at. So I think it's definitely the Wild West at the moment. So. Yeah,
and we see a lot of brands putting solar meter readings on their irradiance for panels or blankets.
Solar meaning
and all that
sunlight.
Sort of thing.
So it's great for being a photographer and you want to know how much light there is in the room and then or something. Or but maybe it's not solar, but these meters that you use for photography or for defining the sunlight outside are good at those jobs, but they're not telling you how much photobiomodulation light you're getting in the right spectrum.
Yeah. And in practice, what that means generally is like you get about double the strength of the irradiance and what we're finding. So, people are advertising 100 and they're actually only giving about 50. We've looked at, because we bought a light spectrometer and, that cost us £1,500. So it's still not as expensive as some of the equipment out there. But I think that's a better way of testing than a solar meter.
Yes.
Something that people can do if they want to invest in the the equipment. That's one route to possibly take. But one of the other things we see in flooding the market at the moment are these blankets, red light blankets. Big plastic things. You get yourself in and zip up. And again, your thoughts on that. But for me, we see the same sort of problem here. The LEDs are very weak and they're very well spaced apart. And we see all these influencers also fully dressed, getting in them and saying they've just had a
Don't get me
session.
started. I think you clearly know where's your conscience? Where's your integrity? I mean, you cannot. Where's just. Why would you put somebody fully clothed in front of your device? You clearly have no idea. A black leotard or something's been worn by somebody, and things like it's like you want the least amount of clothing and preferably none at all. And I appreciate in advertising that's not a smart thing to do. So, but it's what you. But then I don't know. You disgrace yourself by having pictures of people substantially clothed in your device, if that's what they're doing. And anybody who puts photography on like that on their website, I would question what they actually know about this technology. And the other thing about that, you mentioned the blanket. So yes, they're weak, and yes, I would worry about two other things. I mean, flexibility. Wires don't like moving around forever. So how long are those going to break? Will last before they break. But the other thing is these are embedded in a soft material. Now, behind you've got a device on. You can hear the fans going on there to keep them cool. They get hot. And if they're delivering out a reasonable amount of light, then they are going to get hot. And then they could either get to a point where they just burn out or they are burning the individual in there. If they're not burning you, then they're probably not strong enough. If you didn't have fans, that thing would get pretty hot. And yes, absolutely. Those things I would say are probably the worst products I've seen are probably blankets.
Yeah.
And I haven't had one in our engineering department, so I don't know. But I'm surmising from what I can see.
The last one we're seeing a lot on socials at the moment are these wands, so red light wands. And they're sort of saying about rubbing them across wrinkles and, basically erasing the wrinkles. We see them from very different, very different price points. You can get them from, £50, $50 up to, even $1,000 or £1,000. So is there ones that can be effective? Are they, again, just a gimmick? Should people be avoiding these sorts of things?
I can't think of one that I've actually seen, but I understand what you're saying. And as soon as you start moving something, let's say the tip of my finger was 1 square centimeter, and that it was emitting, let's say, 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared, and you're doing this with it. How many centimeters did I just cross there? And you're spending like a second per centimeter doing something, and maybe a second going back there, and maybe I'm covering 5 centimeters with my 1 centimeter size beam there. So you've now got 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared divided by 5 centimeters. It's now 10 milliwatts per centimeter squared. And I'm not saying that wouldn't work, but you really need to be using it something. If you're getting down to 10 milliwatts per centimeter squared, you've got to be using it probably for, let's have a think. You'll be using it for 1.5. You'd have to be using it for a solid 5 minutes to be able to get to something, a reasonable dose. 5 minutes of doing that. And then you do 5 minutes on the other side, and you want to do something down here, and you want to do something. I mean, you're going to spend, yes, I mean, maybe they'll do something if that's what the kind of thing you'd have to do. But have I got my sums right? I think if that would be there, there'd be 5 times that, or no, times 5 centimeters. No, it's worth it. 25 minutes of doing that. So it's it'll be 25 minutes just for that bit of your eye and for that bit of your eye, So I suggest
time investment you'll have to put in to get any benefits from these, and this is the problem we're seeing in the market.
You got me looking at my own lines and wrinkles now, kind of thing. And am I doing it myself? No, I don't. I don't have such a device, but I use a Novathor, so and I'm going to be 65 next year. So it's
I mean, when you were saying about when you entered the market, 1987.
Yes.
That was the year I was born. So
right. This has been doing this for 40 years. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm 40 next year. So, but no, you're looking good for that. So something must be working.
Something's working. Yeah. As it takes a lot of things to work. Choose the right parents and have some good genes would be a good thing. Diet, exercise, and I think just generally having a sense of purpose is a good thing. Having good relationships, they all add up to a healthy body and a healthy mind.
And a good photobiomodulation protocol.
There you go. Yes. Thanks for mentioning.
Forgot to mention that one.
Yes.